Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I am Vanessa Hundley, aka DJ Audioprism. I am here with the next episode of Cut and Mix, my show where I get to have passionate conversations with passionate professionals in a timeless manner. So no matter when you listen to this, you can come back and get something out of it anytime. And today I am joined by NFL Hall of Famer Emery Moorehead, who has been on a couple of teams, but most notably ended his career with the Chicago Bears of the 80s and is a Super Bowl ring bearer from Super Bowl 1985. So Emery, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Well, it's my pleasure to be on the show. I feel honored.
Thanks. I was like, I love all the conversations I get to have with people. And there's so much to learn from pretty much anybody you talk to in life. And you have such a storied past to you that, of course, I love the idea of being able to talk to somebody who's actually done the Super Bowl shuffle. So
Actually, I was not in the shuffle.
Not in the shuffle.
But it was a special time for the Bears that year. And of course, that shuffle, it just took off. Like when they did it, it took off. And I think it was done in late November. And by the end of the year, because of Christmas and everything, it had become the second highest grossing video ever behind Michael Jackson's Thriller. So it was something else. It was something else.
Now, that's really amazing to think about video streaming as far as something that, because we're talking about the 80s. So the idea of video streaming isn't what we think of it today. It's more of like video distribution, through like MTV and, oh gosh, where would people have even seen it besides MTV or the news or something?
They had seen it on the news. And then, of course, Chicago at that point, we were like, in fact, that video was shot. We only lost one game that year.
Mm-hmm.
That was Monday night to the Miami Dolphins. And we were 12-0 when we lost the first game. And that video was shot on Tuesday after the Monday night loss. And but of course, in Chicago, once it got made and the media in Chicago just really started showing it. And then before you know it, everybody was ordering the record or the video for Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was something else. In the off season, most football teams back then, we didn't make a lot of money. And
right.
So we had a little traveling basketball team that would go around, play at the high school, play the teachers, the fire department, the police departments. And every school we went to at halftime, they would go, well, we got something special for you guys. You got to come out and see it. And we go, let me guess, it's your cheerleaders doing the Super Bowl shuffles.
No.
And, it was really popular. And like I said, it became, the video sold over 300,000 copies. And the records just went bananas. And when you talk about technology back in the 80s as compared to today, it doesn't look so great when you look at the Super Bowl shuffle right now. It's like watching a football game from the 80s compared to watching a football game today. The technology that they use is just full of all kinds of cameras and zooms and zaps and all kinds of just stuff going across your screen today, whereas back then it was pretty basic.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I remember when I was growing up, the first time I ever saw one of those digital field overlays. And I wasn't a huge sports person because I was a band geek. So I was sitting there watching the game and going like, how are they moving all that stuff with the field? And then so I was like, oh, they're doing it with a computer. And I was like, that is so, because I've been raised on computers because I'm a child of, the late 70s, early 80s. And so like we were kind of right in on like the upswell of the home PC revolution. But just to see how graphics have become so integrated into the sport. I mean, it's literally a full-time interactive experience from the time the game starts till the time it ends.
Yes, it's something else.
How have you seen the technology change around the field since the 80s? So I know you're not, actively playing now, but I know you do still make a lot of appearances and go to the games.
Chicago Bears were the last team in the league to get a big, giant scoreboard.
Oh, wow.
We just had a little rectangular thing with the score on it. these brand new stadiums and the technology they have in there. And everybody, the whole stadium is now Wi-Fi. And just everything is, you've got to keep up with the newest and the latest and the greatest. It's like, where college football is going today.
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting thing today. I mean, if you don't have a brand new locker room and state-of-the-art weight room and all these things that these kids want, and they go and they look at the University of like Alabama and Oregon and all these, stadiums that have almost everything that you could ever desire to become a better football player. And the same thing here at the University of Colorado. And even Northwestern University is ahead of the curve on something now. They're usually slow, but they have a brand new facility on Lake Michigan. And so in order to compete with an Ohio State, Michigan, and all these ones that have all this new stuff, you've got to keep up with technology and what's the latest, greatest thing that's going to help you recruit.
Yeah, I could completely understand that, because it's gotten the competition for college talents has gotten so much more fierce over the last couple decades, especially as they've, risen more in esteem. It used to be like college was great and college was fun and college was a community thing, and then you were ready to try to go to the next level, and make it to the NFL or make it to whatever league that you could. And now, college is its own industry.
Yeah, I would bet that some of these college programs have more than NFL programs have right now, because of the amount of money generated by a top-notch college football program. Mm-hmm. It's the number one thing. I mean, about a decade ago, or maybe 2 decades, there were all these mergers. As college left the original conference and wanted to go to another conference because of the amount of money that was getting generated by these conferences. And thus you had schools like Texas A&M leave and join the Southeast Conference in Missouri. You had Colorado leave the Big 12 and go to the Pac-10. You had Nebraska leave the Big 12 and go to the Big 10. It's all super conferences now with 12 to 16 teams each, because the more you have, the more markets you penetrate, the more money you can bring in. So the Big 10 went out and they got a team like Rutgers. Rutgers is New York, New Jersey. That's a huge market. They're not a good football team, but it's a huge market to get into, and that's what it's all about. Is getting these, trying to get the best TV deal and bringing in the best market you can to your conference.
One of the ways you can build that kind of reputation to the point where you're moving forward and you're getting more notice and you're getting more of these high profile appearances is to do things like win the Super Bowl like you did, and that was back in '85. So what kind, obviously, you have the whole Super Bowl moment where you're there and you're like, oh my gosh, we just won and this is amazing. And how do you feel that changed the trajectory of your career when you were going to start looking ahead at moving away from football?
Well, ironically, after we won the Super Bowl, I got my real estate license that off season because I was in my 9th year. Mm-hmm. I said, this is about as good as it's going to get. And you're in your 9th year and you need to start figuring out what you want to do. And so I got my real estate license during that off season. And then for the next 3 years, I sold in the off season. And when I retired after 12 years, that game was over on a Sunday. And I was in my office on a Monday. And I sat at that desk and worked for the same company, different offices for 28 years.
Wow. That is, well, you had a plan though, which is great.
Oh yeah. You got to have a plan back then, because we didn't make the millions of dollars that are made today. I think the minimum salary right now for a guy walking off the street that makes the team is $600,000.
Wow.
Probably for a free agent that didn't get drafted, and the average salary is probably about $1.6 million, $1.8 million. Of course, it's top heavy with quarterbacks making tons of money. But the whole dynamics of football has changed since I played. The salary caps now, there's a minimum that you can pay, and there's a It's gotten, there's so much money. And really, thanks to the NFL Players Association, which is the players' union, they're able to tap into the profits that the owners were making and get a percentage of the gross.
Yes.
Instead of just, when we were playing, we had no idea how much money they were making, so we didn't know how much we actually could make. But the whole dynamics, because of television, which actually pays all the salaries that the owners have to pay, the package for television has gotten so great. Every 7 to 10 years, it's renegotiated. In fact, they're renegotiating right now. And what happens is you have a Fox, you have NBC. Fox might get the Sunday night game, NBC might get the AFC games, and CBS gets the NFC games. Well, then there's another station that's left out, the NBC. So the next round, they want to get in, so they come in, they overpay, and then somebody else is left out. And so the price just keeps going up, and that in turn, NFL salaries are able to go up and up and up. So it's a great thing. And I actually, Vanessa, was involved in 2 strikes in my career. The 1982 strike, when we asked for a percentage of the gross from the owners, and everybody thought we were crazy.
Right.
And then the 1988 strike, where we wanted free agency for all the players. And today, they have both of those. So they're getting close to a little bit over 50% of the gross. And as you know, when your contract is up, your favorite player just might leave your favorite team and go and get more money from another team. So it's totally, and when we did it, we said, you know what, it's not going to be for us, it's going to be for our kids. And sure enough, they're reaping the benefits of some of the strikes that we have been on.
Well, it's interesting to watch how a great many entertainment or sports-related fields kind of follow that thing where you have the groundbreakers that come beforehand and start saying, hey, look what we noticed. Maybe this is something that needs to change, with the idea that it's going to benefit a future generation. It may not benefit you, but to still be able to see those benefits coming in, that's got to be a great feeling. And I feel I know that you were inspired by, several of your mentors and your coaches. And one that comes up in some of your interviews is, of course, Mike Ditka was the coach for the Chicago Bears when you were there. And you said that he saw potential in you that had never really been brought out before. So let's talk a little bit about how he found that potential in you and how you've used how he treated you and how you've turned around to influence or mentor other people through football or through real estate.
Well, Coach Ditka, there were a lot of people that influenced me, a lot of coaches. Coaches are great mentors to young men. And I have played, going back in my NFL career, I started out as a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. I played my first 2 years with the New York Giants as a wide receiver. And then my third year, I played running back, fullback. Then I was traded to Denver and basically played special teams. Was a wide receiver, didn't get to play at all, never caught a pass. Was released. The next year, the Bears picked me up, and I did the same thing. I special teams, ran back kickoffs. I did whatever I could to stay in the league. Well, they fired the coach, and Coach Ditka came. And he and I had a talk, and the year before, there were 3 tight ends on the Bears. And they caught 12 passes between them. And I figured, well, I know I can catch 12 passes. I'm a wide receiver. And so I moved to tight end. And of course, that's the position that Coach Ditka played. And so the first time he looks at film, the very first position is going to be the tight end. And but he was very helpful in coaching, giving techniques and footwork and, just really basic fundamentals. And if you could pay attention to the fundamentals, because we were a running football team. We had a great running back, Walter Payton. And, Ditka used to say, we get off the bus running. And that's exactly what we did. And because Walter, he broke the all-time record while I was there for rushing the football. And
wow.
I'm doubt that Mike Ditka would have took the job if he didn't have Walter Payton. But so the guy that could block the best got the job as tight end. And through his coaching, and he's just a very straight up fundamental guy. He's not going to whatever he tells our team, it's not going to be any surprise on 10 o'clock news because he's already told us exactly what he thinks. And it's a great quality to me. At least I know.
Yeah.
Saying something different, he has a way of thinking, and you might not agree with it, but that's the way he is, and you either get on board or you're out. And that was, to me, that was very clear and very honest, and I appreciated the way he coached. I really did. And a lot of people didn't like it. Now, could he coach today? No. I mean, these kids today, they don't want that kind of coaching. They want to be patted on the back and encouraged and all that. And Victor was about as gruff and rough as it was, but he's telling you the truth.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that about it.
There was definitely I guess a more stalwart presentation of the coaches back then. We definitely saw a lot of tempers on the field. I do remember, watching a few games where clipboards would go flying and whatever else. And there was just a lot of that intensity that went with, the great game of football, because it is something we were very, very passionate about in so many ways. So when you went into real estate, were there people that you worked with or that came to work for you that you found yourself kind of laying out that same management style for?
Well, when I went to real estate, I interviewed with 2 or 3 companies, and everybody at that time, they were like, well, he's playing football. He can't sell real estate. And then this one manager at my company that I ended up working for, she's like, you can come work here right now. He said, I'll call the president of our company and tell him what's going on. And they were able to handle it right then. And then I remember, I was on vacation 3 days later, then everybody started calling because a lot of the managers could not make that decision. And then when they found out it was me, they were calling, so, oh yeah, well, we can make the decision. Well, I actually went with the person that had the knowledge to say, you come here, I'll work it out with the boss,
Exactly.
And then the boss, whose name was on the company, ended up being a very good friend, a very influential person in my life, because he was very approachable. He's like, you have any problem, you come to me. And that's coming from the top. And so I just really enjoyed the relationship I had with the company. I stayed with them for 28 years. And throughout the whole process, I never did. Everybody wanted me to manage. I didn't want to manage, but I did go into the North Shore Barrington Board of Realtors. I went to that organization to help all realtors. We had about 33,000 realtors in our board, and I went there and was a director, and eventually went through the chairs and became the president. And it was quite an experience to find out on that side of the real estate, how policies were met, how National Association of Realtors and their important things that they did for realtors, and was able to come back and relay a lot of information to our company, to other realtors in our company, and that was a great experience for me as well.
Well, you took that, you just because you retired from football doesn't mean you left football all the way. You went on to mentor at a couple of international youth football games. I found an interview with you with, let's see, I'm going to make sure I say this correctly, the American Bowl International Camp. Yes. And those are, I really love the international movement about American football that's come up over the last several years. I just had a conversation with Wes Chandler where he was talking about international football efforts and how other, countries are starting to embrace it and learn it and become a thing. So how was your experience internationally with football?
Well, I did it for 5 years, and of course we didn't do it last year because of COVID, but I found it interesting that in Europe alone, there are over 70 different leagues that compete in American football. And there were a lot of camps over in Europe, and the one I went to, there were quite a few kids that came from all over. They came from which is now Yugoslavia. It was Slovenia. It was Yugoslavia. We had kids from Holland. We had kids from just all over Europe trying to get more information about how they could get better as football players. And one of my coaches also played for the Bears. In fact, he was the one who got me involved, was Chris Haynes. He was a receiver in the 70s and early 80s, and he played at Notre Dame. He's in the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame. And what got it going was he played with Joe Montana. And so he taught Joe into coming over one year, and that just blew the American Bowl up. All the kids had heard of Joe Montana. And at that camp, there probably was like about 15 or 20 quarterbacks. Quarterback now because Joe was coming. And so that camp, it has gotten better and better. The coaches from all over Europe, and then they bring about 4 or 5 American ex-NFL players to help coach as well. And of course, the great thing is that, the food that you get to eat after the camp, we go out to dinner, restaurants, it was nice. And it took me about 2 years, but finally after the camp, I decided, you're over here in Italy, you might as well go spend 3 or 4 days somewhere else. So, I went to Rome, I went to Venice, and I went to Florence. And each year I went a different spot and got to see a little bit of Italy. And that was a great experience for me, along with the camp and helping kids get better at football.
What do you guys call it football at the camps, or do you have to call it something else to keep people? Because football in Europe is usually soccer, or do you just say American football, or?
We just called it football.
Just called football. Okay.
Football the way we play football. If they want to go to a soccer camp, you go to a soccer camp. But this camp was also good because they played in full uniform.
Oh.
And so it wasn't just helmets and shorts. It was full uniform, and there was 2 a days, twice a day we would play, and everybody would say, we get so much out of this camp because we're actually learning, the techniques that the other coaches don't really teach, because they don't have the experience to teach it. In fact, one of the guys was telling me he became the head coach of a team just because he was an American. And, you got to know more than we know. And he never played football.
Oh, wow.
And that's how he got his start in coaching over there. It was just because he was an American and he had to know more than what the Europeans know.
You never know where your experiences are going to take you. And it sounds like you just sort of stumbled into that one. And we all know we stumble. Sometimes we just stumble into the best things. I know you specifically, I remember you saying right place, right time makes a big difference and a lot of your opportunities.
Going back to what you said also, you have to have somebody in your corner when you play. And that was the best advice I ever got when I left college. My receiver coach told me that. He said, you got to have somebody in your corner. You got to have somebody in that meeting room when they're coming down and making decisions that's going to say, Emery has got this thing. You can do this, you can do that. And that's the most important thing when you get to that level, is to have somebody in there fighting for you. And my son, he played 5 years in the NFL. And that's what I told him when he left. I said, it's not always the best player. Number one, you got to get along with your teammates and coaches. And then you got to have some coach, whether it's the special team coach or your position coach. Somebody's got to be in there saying, I need him, I need him, I need him. And that gets down to relationships, which is the same thing. Anything you do in life, it's relationship. It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And once you get in, you got a chance, you got to prove it.
Yes.
And my daughter, she got in a great position because I knew a guy, and this is a funny story. She was just coming out of college, and she had not been employed for about 5 months. I'm not even a White Sox fan, I'm a Cubs fan. But a guy from Constellation Brands, which is a big alcoholic beverage company, where the United States rights to Modelo and Corona, Pacifico beer. They have all kind of wines, spirits. And there was a guy who used to come to our golf tournament They provided us with beer. And he liked me, and he asked me, did I want to go to a White Sox game with him and his wife? And I said, I'm a Cub fan, but I said, I'll go. And so, anyway, we're sitting there at the game, and I'm talking to him, and my daughter is talking to his wife. And before the game was over, about the 7th or 8th inning, she goes, you can't find a job for this girl right here? Job. She said, well, you were willing to move. And she said, yeah, we'll open up a Southeast office in Atlanta. And she went to work as an admin. And now it's probably 15 years later. And she's in control of all the hotels in the Southeast United States. She's got the 10 biggest accounts in every state. But it started with who do you know? And I knew, but then his wife goes, you can't find a job for her. And then she got it. As an admin, she was one of, I think there were 2 women in an office of 19 people. And she was just in charge of, just helping everybody get their paperwork in, doing all that. And then she got some experience. When they closed that office down, she went to work for one of the sales distributors there. And then she had a couple years of experience, and they said, you want to come back and work for us again? And she's been there ever since. So it's who you know sometimes, and just getting your foot in the door. I can get you in the door, but you got to do the job yourself.
Exactly. It's a difference between getting in the door and staying in the door. It's 2 totally different things. Now, you brought up baseball a couple of times, and you said you're a huge Cubs fan. Was there a point in your life where you actively played baseball? Was that a sport you considered pursuing, or?
I think everybody can, play Little League baseball, Corner League baseball. And I grew up in Evanston, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And this is in the 60s, and Ernie Banks was, a big hero of all Cub fans. I mean, there was Ernie Banks and Billy Williams and Ron Santo, the 69 Cubs, even to this day, are my favorite Cub players. And when I got back to Chicago and was able to, do a lot of things around Chicago, playing golf events and going to charity events and everything, I got to meet all those guys. And it was such a good thing for me. And in fact, I'll never forget the time I first met Ernie Banks. And he's quite a personality and very exuberant. And we were at a card show at the Rosemont Horizon, which is a big facility. We have a big card show once a year there, where there are thousands of people that come, and every day there's 20, 30 people, athletes signing cards. And I happened to be there when Ernie was there, and we was in the green room in the back, which was huge, and everybody was talking to Ernie, and finally nobody was over there. And I went over there and I had to tell him that. I said, Ernie, my name is Emery Moorehead. He goes, Emery Moorehead, 1985 Chicago Bears. He's going on and on. I said, I know, Ernie, but you don't understand. I said, I grew up a Cubs fan, watching you and watching the Cubs, and this is like the biggest thing that could ever happen to me, that I get to meet you, Ernie. And he was so good. And of course, I've seen him several times afterwards, dozens of times afterwards. But that first time, I was just like a kid. I could have been 10 years old meeting Ernie Banks. It was such a great thing for me. But I never did play baseball past I played as a sophomore in high school. And by that time, I realized that, you know what, if you don't get out the way of that curveball, if you don't stay in there, you're not going to be a good player. So I stopped playing baseball after my sophomore year in high school.
Now, had you been playing football the whole time too?
It's not like it is today. I mean, kids start when they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. None of that when we grew up. So I didn't play till I got to high school. That was the first time I put on my first shoulder pads, and with about 90% of our team. Unless you went to a Catholic junior high, they had football. But in the regular public school, junior high, no football at all. So most people started in high school. And the same thing with my son, They had youth football, but I didn't let them play until 8th grade. He finally kept bugging me. I said, okay, you can go now in 8th grade, because I was a firm proponent of, your body is growing so fast at that age. And break a bone or something, and you grow 6 inches or something that summer. It's a rough game, and the less hits you take, the better off you are. If you start playing football at 6, 7, 8, that to me is still ridiculous, and it's really because you're playing because your parents. It's bad if somebody wants you to play, and football's not for everybody, and it takes a certain toughness to actually want to play football. And that eliminates a lot of kids, because a lot of kids, they don't want to get hit. They don't want to go in and make the tackle but today, the rules have changed. You don't play with your face and your face mask in the chest anymore. You don't touch the quarterback. There's a lot of different things that have made it safer. And I'm very appreciative of the new rules. And a lot of people say, oh, it's not football, but it's not your butt out there on the line getting hit. And that's saving a lot of, surgeries and a lot of operations by not having all this the way they played in the 70s and 80s.
I was going to say, just watch one game from the 70s and 80s, and it is almost terrifying to watch just the force and the intensity. And we all know the story about the epic pileups with 20 guys on top of one. And, it's just...
and the 85 Bears were, notorious. The defense was notorious for hitting and knocking people out of the game. In fact, the defensive coordinator, Buddy Ryan, would always say, we're going to see how good that second string quarterback is, because we're going to get after that first one. And that year, they knocked out probably 8 or 9 quarterbacks that did not finish the game. And because back then, you could hit the quarterback in the head, below the waist. You can hit him anywhere. You can hit anybody anywhere. And those rules have changed now. You don't get to be Tom Brady at 43-year-old playing football with the rules they had in the 1980s.
Oh, no, I kind of wondered about that, actually. I was sitting there going, what has he done so But yeah, you're right. There's
barely touching him.
Yeah, he doesn't have the Mack truck coming at him at every game, You
get touched, or you're flagged and you're thrown out of the game.
Well, you've been making your way into the online sphere. You had been a public speaker too throughout the years, inspiring people and going out and doing different talks. And how has the last year, we'll say like the last 2 years, do you still find yourself doing much in person? Are you doing any online speeches or talks to anybody?
For football and real estate. So as a retired person, you always want to have something to do to earn some extra income.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me and my teammates in 1985, we always call the 85 team the gift that keeps on giving, because there's always demand for our team in Chicago to do a lot of things, and also across the country. I used to do a lot of travel and playing golf tournaments because people wanted the 85 Bears. Well, this last year, right about this time, mid-March, all of that came to a halt. And, I did very little last year. Just trying to stay in my little circle of friends that I see, very small circle, just to stay away from, a coronavirus possibility. And so this year, I don't know what is going to happen this year. Still, the virus is still pretty much controlling a lot of lives here in the United States, except for Florida, as we discussed earlier.
There is no control there. I'm in Georgia. There's not much control here. Our poor mayor keeps trying in Atlanta, but, the forces are against her. So.
Yeah. But, I don't know what's going to happen this year, because a lot of times when people stop these things, they're kind of, half of them are going to be stopped for good.
Yes.
The restaurant that's having trouble staying open, some will not ever open up again.
Yeah.
What it entails, but I did do a lot of personal appearances, a lot of public speaking. Those things were all things that I had been doing from day one.
Yeah.
I did it in college. Couldn't get paid in college, but it sure prepped me for when I became a professional athlete to be able to get in front of crowds and make speeches and talk about, success and some of the building blocks that it takes to become successful. Because a lot of the principles that you learn in athletics, those are the same type of things that you're going to have to carry over to do a job in other fields. I mean, It takes discipline, number one. You got to be disciplined. And so much more today during this COVID, you have to be self-disciplined. People are working from home. There's nobody telling you what you can and cannot do. So you have to be your own best motivator to get out there to do stuff. It takes planning. It takes setting goals for yourself and reaching those goals. And a lot of times, I find that if you write the goal down, set it right there in front of you on your desk, whether it's a daily goal or a yearly goal or a monthly goal, it gets done because you're sitting there looking at it all day, every day, and you have to at some point cross off those things that you have to do. And I promise you, it got me out of college. Once I figured out that, you know what, you got to take this course, and 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 next semester, and then you only got to take these and you're out. I just had that sitting there like my junior year on, looking at it going, you got this and you're out of here, man. You got a degree.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing I think that carries over in a lot of our everyday life. It's just being able to set goals and reach them.
And it's just self-defined goals can be really hard when you're used to, or when you have say like for me as a DJ, like I had a set rhythm to the year. I'd spent years and years and years building up different clientele and different things. And like you said, come March, like I had never foreseen a circumstance where everything stopped. I mean, I actually had backup plans and other things because after the recession, I learned how to what I call tier my business, where I had like X amount in clubs and venues and this much in private. Because my thought process was, if something slows down, something else will still keep going. But then everything stopped. And you're very right that a lot of the entities that haven't made it this far, or had to close down during the pandemic may very well not be reopening, or, if they do come back, they're going to come back in a very different form.
I feel for the music industry.
Oh, it's been hard.
It's got to be very hard. And certainly a lot of clubs, a lot of places where bands used to play, they're not open, they're still not open, and some probably are never going to open.
Yeah.
Which is very sad. And out here, we got a great venue, Red Rocks Theater, which is an outdoor theater built into the Red Rocks of Golden.
I know that. Yeah.
They had to shut down everything last year. And this year, they're saying they're going to do like 25% capacity. But a lot of clubs, they can't open up at 25%. It's like, there's no way I can pay the band and still make it with 25% capacity. They need maximum capacity.
Yeah.
Red Rocks is going to try to do it with 25, and it's a 10,000 seat venue. But I just don't know, how they're going to make it. I just don't know how they can make it. And I feel for it because I love live music. I love entertainment, and gone a year without it. And I'm like the musicians. I want to see live music.
Yes, I'm about to say it. Oh, we miss it. But it depends on crowds of people. But I believe that we will find a way back to doing it so we can all enjoy our music together again. Because I think that's the biggest thing is we're all like, but there's something about listening to it with people,
Yeah, exactly. You can look online and see them, but it's just not the same. And of course, you being a DJ, people, how excited can you get?
We do what we can online, so Well, I know obviously things are still very much in flux, but what are some of the things that you are maybe possibly looking forward to doing?
Well, I just want to get around people again.
Yes.
You know, really just being around people. I mean, I love my neighbors, but I see them, and that's my little group that I hang out with. But I like to travel. I want to get back to traveling. I just want to, get out and meet new people again.
Yes.
You don't get to meet new people. And so I look forward to the day when I can travel, that I can go out. I was fortunate last year because I do play golf. I was able to get out and play golf.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody had to mask up whenever you're inside, and being outside and just being able to have some exercise with the mask off was nice. I do a lot of hiking, but you got to be masked up when you hike. Because the people are, the trails are narrow and you're going to be passing people, and everybody's got to have a mask. So, but just getting, to get around people again and meet people, I miss it. I'm a people person. I like to see people. I like to meet new people. I like to expand my knowledge and more people, and it's just, I miss it. So I think everybody misses it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Your friends, you want to hug them, but, stay back now.
I know.
But fortunately for me, I took my COVID shot about 2 weeks ago, and then a week from today, I'm going to get the second one. So I feel a little bit better about traveling maybe. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. I talked to my doctor to see exactly what it means because I got my COVID shot.
Right.
I feel a little bit better being around people. And I'm sure they will feel better being around me, knowing that I have had both shots.
Well, I do know if people want to have their own personalized Emery Moorehead message, that you're on Cameo, which for people who don't know, Cameo is a website that you can visit. And I just found out about this, and I'm enthralled. I'm amazed. But it is where celebrities and personalities and I, from what I gather, even some just high-end professionals from different fields can put a profile on there, and then you as a fan or something else can actually pay for a personalized shout out, kind of like a personalized message for you or for somebody else, which, so are there any funny stories or anything that you have to share about that? Any interesting things people have asked you to say, or?
Some of them are for my buddy's getting married, or my wife's birthday is coming up. She's a huge Bear fan. But the one I got about last month, February, was from a realtor whose clients love the Bears and they love me. And she said they're buying their first house. Oh. And first-time home buyers are always so special to realtors. Because they're buying a piece of the American dream, and that was special to me that she called me and I knew exactly what she wanted because I had been a realtor for so long.
I think it's a perfect blend.
Yeah, and so I have to change my little introduction now and tell them, and the real estate agents call me. I can congratulate your clients on their new home, and they were blown away. She actually emailed me a couple of hours after the closing saying, "Emery, that was just fantastic." So they were so blown away by that. They really appreciate it. That was one of the good stories, I think, when you hear back from them saying, it was spectacular. Yeah.
Wow. So there you go, guys. You can go to cameo.com and you can look up Emery Moorehead, and you could have him send you a birthday message or a Christmas message or this is glad you woke up for the day message,
Yes.
And that's a great way to support entertainers and other people in these times too, and you get to keep a little piece of it, So
I think there are a lot more of them on Cameo now.
Yeah. I think that was probably one of those things that people saw but thought, well, what good of what, I'm so busy, I don't need to do something like that. And then the world's like, not so busy anymore. Let's take this back. So what
also shut down movies and TV series. I mean, actors were out of money.
Yes. Oh yeah, I was gonna say entertaining in general. Yeah.
So you see a lot of people on there, like you said, probably like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But you figure out a way.
I was gonna say, I know a lot of DJs and myself included going like, oh, I don't really, streaming and everything else. Cause there have been some streaming platforms for DJs around for about when you're really, really busy. And the idea of, breaking down your equipment and setting it back up and breaking it down and setting it back up is just, you're saying, but now, over the last year, a lot of us have. And it's so what is for you, we're gonna go ahead and say, what are your favorite platforms or platform to communicate with fans or people that would like to talk more to Emery Moorehead?
Well, I like the one-on-one. I like the audience. I like speaking for big groups, being around big groups. I mean, that's kind of the format that has been good to me. I enjoy just meeting fans, being around people, and they'll bring up, oh, I remember this play, or I remember when Pickett did this to you, and I remember, and the funny thing is now is that, like I said before, my son played, and he went to the University of Illinois. So when I'm in Chicago, they'd be like, oh, you're Aaron's dad, because he was very popular here now. And of course, now it's these 40-somethings that are all in the, making lots of money in Chicago and,
Right.
On their way up. And it's great to see all those people doing their thing because I knew a lot of them when they were little teenagers.
Now, your son has a Super Bowl ring too, right?
Yes. He played on the Colts with Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison when they beat the Bears.
Oh, I didn't know that detail. Oh, wow.
They played the Bears in the Super Bowl. And, it's the only time ever I've rooted against the Bears. Was when my son played in the Super Bowl because you just never know when you're going to get back. I mean, a lot of people thought the 85 Bears were going to be around for a lot. And we never did get back to the Super Bowl. So, I basically told him, don't waste this opportunity. Peyton Manning's a great quarterback, but a lot of people never get back. Some people never get there. Great players. And I was so glad that they won. And we were actually the first father and son team to actually play in the Super Bowl, and actually both of us won Super Bowls. So,
I remember reading that.
And so that was a great accomplishment for him and myself. And he's done very well. He's coaching now. He's coaching with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's in his second year there. He was a college coach before that. But a lot of times people think maybe because you play in professional football, you get things handed to you. But he was a guy that from the very beginning, he didn't get a college scholarship. He walked on at the University of Illinois, earned a college scholarship. He didn't get drafted into the NFL. He didn't even get to go to the combine, which is the top 300 seniors. But he walked on at the Indianapolis coach. And when he went to coaching, he started at what they call a graduate assistant, which is like the bottom of the rung. You go get, you break down the film for every coach. You just do everything and anything they say. And he worked his way up to becoming a full-time assistant, and then eventually worked his way after going through several colleges into the NFL. So for a lot of people out there, it's not bad to start at the bottom. Whether it's an internship to get your foot in the door, or like I told you, my daughter started as an admin. You have to get in first. And being in, radio and DJing, you got to start somewhere. You just don't start on the top.
Oh.
All the kids today they want to start on the top because that's where the money is. But sometimes you got to build a little resume and get it going, and that's what it takes. I mean, that's the old school way, and unless you're creating an app or something like that, you're going to have to learn from somebody, and the best way is to just get in and learn from people that have already done it.
Yes. There are always people that really want to share their passion and their skills. I'm one of them. A lot of times there are people that will help you, or even just give you one piece of advice that could just completely change your perception or your tactics, or anything, because I mean, we all start somewhere, and then one day, you're running left, and they're like, maybe better if you ran right, and you run right, and you're like, you know what, that is better. I like that. So,
and I mean, sure you can create apps and everything, but for most people, there's no use in trying to create a new wheel.
Yes.
Just find somebody that does what you do and what you want to do, and learn from that person.
The education is key, even if you're doing it as an apprentice. Well, Emery, I want to say thank you so much for joining me here today. I am so excited to share all of these stories with the world because, as like I said, the 1985 Chicago Bears, like you said, the gift that keeps on giving. And hopefully somebody will get something out of this that will help them move forward. And
well, you know what? Whenever I speak or do anything, it's like if you can get one thing out of it, it's worth it. Exactly. And that's, I think, you get one nugget out of one person on your show every time you have a show. That one thing helps you. God bless you, and it's worth it.
Exactly. I concur. Well, thank you again so much. And I look forward to speaking with you in the future and checking out what Emery Moorehead does as we make our way through the pandemic and beyond.
Thank you very much, Vanessa.